Kobayashi Mont Saint is the day that I was surprised in a variety of evidence goods to visit Akechi. The disappearance of the maid Komatsu has been discovered, and the murder of Machiko was finally now 3 days from the date that became the police crazy. It stood a variety of significant events in the meantime. As the case of the shadow was also one of them, a man had seen the atrocities reach an extreme. Action of the dwarf named Saito. Then what was table? Provide evidence goods of Akechi becomes the original. Perform specific police first. The first of Machiko to search the whereabouts of Haruo North Island, which vowed revenge in his suspects were pressing to take. Not even him bitter in hiding in a certain Kichiniata. North Island is, but grace does not determine guilt in the interrogation. Machiko cannot stand the unnatural death to of alibi. Evidence that was not there in the field. That he had stayed in Kichiniata in pseudonymous. Ambiguity of the other petition, but there are many. Wakashi when that does not appear the leading suspects in the outside. What his ex-offenders? There was no difference in the Sashizumo suspect to the person. And at the same time raise the North Island. Police searched the Komatsu of the whereabouts of the maid as the second of the suspects. Because the Lover Butterbur shop is back to home of Osaka. Relatives vary not Komatsu to the outside, in the expectation that there is no difference in when Shirley turned to him. After having requested the investigation to the police of the land. From here, state as one of the detectives rushed also. But the result, if there are no even a few days Raifukiya the home of Fukiya. Only it was me make no state in which visited Komatsu. More than that is not yet known. By mounting evidence products found from closet, Yamano misses it goes without saying that received interrogation. But, she does not remember at all about the memorabilia. Someone has argued that there is no difference in the perjury placed to prepare her to be Ochi. If the first her a criminal, or request a search to the police proceed why himself, or does not know the Dari asked the amateur detective. It Mika. Surprisingly, quite powerful witness appeared for her. Yamano Daigoro said in disease as of that is. He made it clear that she did not leave the bedroom also once to It charges against Yamano Mrs. Bai was in outline solved form. But, only Mont Kobayashi at a minimum could not believe the innocence of his wife by its position. For a shady house of Nakanogo-cho, while it is of course the Mont Saint did not reveal it. It seemed to be silent for some reason to Akechi. Police assignation affair with a man of mysterious lameness of Toka Yamano misses the scene could not know any. Mont Saint as he was willing it to me for the sake of his wife. But being to us lapping it Yosere her a favor. Scary doubt that for the missus was going to increasingly deepen Tay retirement. Daily newspaper is. It is needless to say that was established as the rarity of Yamano House. On department store one armed incident was a rarity of unprecedented. That the victim is a young daughter. Perpetrators can be very ambiguous. Because I have all until the ghost story of the Dwarf caused a sensation that it was a truly naturally, as the incident is reputation. Yamano but of course the people of the house relationship has hurt the chest. Daigoro's hero even in this blow in addition to the sadness that has lost a daughter. Suddenly recruit his disease progression. There also was a species of concern of the family of a person. However, surprising thing is, during which, Yamano wife is depending on the invitation of the strange man of examples once again. In order to achieve the second time of assignation, it now was out of the boldly daytime home met. Examples he came out to say that go to Katamachi. But I thought Mont Saint heard of it to by chance. Softly result of the inquiry by a telephone call to the place of her uncle of Katamachi. It has been found nobody was no person who knows as in addition to the Mont Saint. However, just as chose that occasion, it happened to be downright dangerous for his wife. The secret of Mrs. appeared to whether the time has come to expose finally. Mont Saint is, but was ascertained by telephone that the Yamano wife did not go to Katamachi. It was not healthy to follow the post immediately as of this before. On the other hand, is Mrs. of Safety has been cared. On the other hand also, and recall the feeling that ace the meantime of the night, thus that are worried about there was also is ridiculous, strange jealousy like a thing, was to him terribly melancholy. The destination of the wife no difference to the house of an example of Nakanogo-cho. But went there, I thought unbearable and I as if looking at an unpleasant thing. The is still painfuler waiting for the return of his wife in a student room Yamaki and Niramiya. Saying, he rabbit also out of the corner Yamano house. Walked toward the train road. This is because I do not mean just more might be better to diverting the mind to visit Inakechi. 3 days. Till would have to progress to a great extent also towards the detective. It the manner hide why during this period which was not, but all apparently because state that holds the home of the secret of the Ocho. One detail illicit, Mont Saint was suddenly thinking like that. That's it, but he wanted to hear early in the role that served the wife in this case from the mouth of the Akechi. Akechi was in the inn today. Since when was a man like I do not know whether it works. Hey, it was just a good place. When the Mont Saint enters the room for after the maid, there was a smiling face of examples Akechi. Actually Michiko's incident is roughly, it was with a shape I'm such a place that I thought trying also known to you. Well, do you culprit has been found? Mont Saint asked surprised. It's a long time ago is the? I just knew, and there was a reason that cannot be announced until today. About it? In fact I go out in the coming Torimanocho. Supposed to be now the Metropolitan Police Department of the guys come to pick me to Hiv. I mean that commanders. And I because things easy on common criminal director himself candidacy what? Mine today, and I began to pull. However, this Torimanocho there is enough much of the bargain. Opponent is I because villain unprecedented. It's what you have a guy not scary you can not even imagine the actual world. Quote, is not that dwarf of example? That's right, but that guy's not just a crippled. Such thing as deformity children. But idiocy are morons children a lot. Only to him. Let alone morons children. I'm downright scary wisdom person. Katayo villain that you paddle have read a novel called Jikiru Drive and Mr. Hyde of Stevenson. You're there just during the day is not under the guise of good people who masquerade done. At night, the devil of form horrendously. The town from the town I was doing the evil that prowl around in wickedness. It vindictive crippled the curse. Murderer, thief, lit the fire. Had been sprinkled other all kinds of poison in the dark of the world. Surprisingly, it is the only it was a hobby. Quote, in after all, do you that crippled was the criminal's Machiko? No, not a criminal. The criminal as was also said during this time in a different place. But, he is a several layers times the villain than the criminal. We horrible the guy first. No matter what you put he must be. But it was waiting until now. Which was to not miss another one of the direct criminal. I worry about the other fugitive is no longer even the person. Quote, it's who? Mont Saint asked packed a breath. Beautiful smile of Yamano Mrs. flickering in the near future. Just come into the maid of the Tokiata, I was handed a piece of the business card to Akechi. Oh, it came a line of criminal director. Not immediately go out to be. The rest of the story you also look to go to together. But I can do in the car. Akechi had begun the Chakukei already rising. Large car of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department had seized a temple of the inn. The party criminal 2 people of the plain clothes to the outside of the criminal director. Akechi and the Mont Saint was passenger to there. Because there was a note of you. I placed asked to arrange also towards the original garden department. But, is also dangerous. Director despite his higher status. Not yet Koira, was a man of lean of feeling. Such as a fox. There was also at first glance something frivolous way. But strange weirdness came out in I've seen for a while. There was a common feeling. Not so good, only in some not such a case comes out people. I do not say anything. Although there's a disabled person. I because villain like came crawl out of hell. I not the actual human beings. Destroy who quickly to the habit of the dwarf. Tree climbing like a monkey is good at. And I say he one person. But to have also fellow. Akechi said with regard to the car seat. But I and if Nijdays in Kansui. I do watch is all right. Okay, my subordinates are firm from 3 sides with 3 people. Man capable of all credit. When the car starts to run, it was hardly through the story in front of the seat and seat back. Natural Akechi talked with the adjacent Kobayashi Mont. I have you seen by examining the Nakanogo that's the house of the Ocho. You are then at the house of example. A scorbel my was a cave whore of the previous long one. Buried to take care of something a secret amateur daughter and wife it was home. Though he quite famous and through people of that. People in the neighborhood do not know though, that after that monster was borrowed. So, as is often the case with such a house, the second floors in that house are you a secret loophole from. That's escape when the event was the police of the hand insertion. To it, through the space between the wall and the wall of the neighboring house from the inside of the closet. There is no flying place missing Also not a wonder you were to escape have watched Dan Nani. I did not know the case. Ridiculous it is a translation. I'm missing piece to anywhere. Mont Saint was felt strangely disappointing. I'm missing to the back of the Yo Minamoto Terra. Whether you had noticed, Yo Minamoto Terra is in the Nakanogo A town. It's a town and no or not a back-to-back to the town. That Yo Minamoto Terra of Ocho if it is also possible to enter through to the Ocho. I can also be passing to the Ocho, through the Terra Uchi of Yogan Temple from the house of the example of the Ocho. But if may grade the main street there is also a 23 town. Loophole, next to each other from. However, speaking of Ya Minamoto Terra's temple that you saw from entering the Dwarf someday, I will get his roughly idea. It's the kind of huge magic. It hits to become enough back-to-back, not at all aware what, but of the escape path that got one another. Behind the graveyard of Yogan Temple of the same Icho, which is also but back-to-back, there is a strange puppeteer of the store. That crippled is also from here the house it was found that had been in and out. That is he of the dwelling is a translation that has a doorway in 3 different towns. He is working the evil of only there. I was able to keep a secret until today it is good to say it all thanks to the retractable doorway. Then Osho and of that temple, it's also a fellow something the puppeteer. That's of course going. Might fellow or more, Akechi was the person who called. Such as tantalize the people of example. So, today we're a translation do the siege from the entrance of the 3-way. Who is the man went to the house of the O-town. Along with the wife of the prior Yamano, Mont Saint asked. After all, one would be one of the fellow. The man was a lame. Yes, it was a lame. Well, it is I'm that dwarf. Was not look familiar to the face. I had hidden in the big glasses in Toriuchi Bochild. It does not know well because it was dark. Because, you dwarf that can become why the Anna big man. It's there. The point is also, I'm the reason you did not roken of Guy of evil. Guy in the dwarf only in the dark of the world. During the day as a normal but human beings do. Horrific magic. But why could such a thing? Guy as a child of the hour and minute. He that did major surgery on both feet hurt that's the body that are fitted with a prosthetic leg. Thing that dwarf the neck and torso is usually of human and change is not. Just to may look thinking only that something unnaturally short legs. Quote, what is the artificial leg that was such a stupid, do not know well. Only to the ridiculous. I say retirement. But then, such as artificial leg, but would not think really. I saw the real thing. Detailed thing as it is seen to now. Besides, the dwarf in the saw you one person. Yamano family of Dwarf. What a special human being, white to people, not in the head. I from the beginning had been through in the crippled who fit the one of the artificial leg. Quote, well, who was integral to that man who fit the prosthesis. Osho of Yo Minamoto Terra, on through bad automobile story. This was only barely also to exchange the conversation. The Mont Saint still did not swallow off and say the Akechi, because it is too strange story. Ridiculous like, and even such a mind has been teased, but within not ascertain the doubt. The car had imperceptibly ceased in front of the building of the Exchange Haraniwa police station. In the police station, he was poised waiting for their Raichaku, including the chief. When you have carried out the everyone vehicles descended 23 of the meeting. He joined the doze well as bottom of the criminal. Went to O-Town not far on foot. Criminal director decided to wait for the good news stop the chief room. Criminaler in front of the criminal division. We had to follow the orders of the amateur detective. The Yo Minamoto Terra, O-Town house, divided into residence in the three hands of the puppeteer, respectively the harabin at the entrance. He who subordinates of Akechi was waiting for their come from a little while ago there. Until I will choose what should be the guy so as not to miss any time. It will be a woman, but would be children. Please put stop once who get out of the house. Akechi asked again and again, and he himself went into the portal of Yogan Temple followed by one of the detective in the Mont Saint. I opened the sliding door of curry. Not dirty old man had something in front of the stove. It was grandfather of the candy store of beyond. Akechi is multiplied by the voice. Your chief priest of temple, guess whether your absence. Oh, it will come. In like anyone. Forgot the paddle. A couple of days, but I was shopping in your store before. Actually, I came in the police of patronage today. To make me call your chief priest of temple here an inch. The old man and Kashikoma went to look for the chief priest of temple toward the back. I came back with a funny face after a while. I'm very much not see. Although I may not at all noticed or was nasu unnoticed otamashi. The General Assembly. I get rabbit also cornered to once climbed. I because patronage from the police. Akechi remains such a went up to the top quickly take off your shoes. Old man is dumbfounded. I did not even try to stop. He took off his shoes to learn to Mont Saint and criminal also Akechi. But that time Mont Saint is a matter that has been forgotten without the forgotten until now. Was remembered with a start. Osho is not for there is no difference to went to the house of the example of the Ocho from the back looks. It has come Yamano misses there. If it finds a priest, his wife is also know as to become end up exposing the shame together. It grip the evidence, not become shizayin rather than shame. Mont Saint is at the same time. I noticed the surprising fact that there, because until now the man who threatened the wife did not know as well as anything. I only felt a kind of jealousy, but, according to the place where stated of Akechi, to the man what a his eerie dwarf I grave outside, misses if there is any weakness. And I think that what has continued to secret meetings and that such abominable persons came into view on what might want introduction to Mrs. within the Mont Saint is thinking such a thing. Akechi went to press Zunes in toward the main hall. Got wrong and was in the main hall dark the other evening is imminent. Had been enough to not see tatami eyes were reddish. Thick pillars with a strange sculpture. Eerie wooden figure was bald of one of the corner to the ante has been painted. The matrix of the large memorial tablets. Over a period of bizarre picture. Incense smell. Their tool state is, we do not know the bottom it was exudes as. There was no course of the human spirit. Akechi is every corner of the carefully hall. And traveling around except such as shadow of things. Past the 23 wide room. The last to get off in the garden. After having examined not bare even during the stone lantern in Ueki. A hinged door plate fence open it. I went out toward the cemetery. Mont Saint garden was under the porch, followed after them to wear sandals. cemetery also had already become largely dark. From breach of the hedge of the person facing the traffic, their eyes are watching a person subordinates of Akechi, looked flickering. Sometime in the evening. I could not remember that crept from the breach into the cemetery. Look at Hora. Well, tomorrow this blackboard wall is broken thin. Just by that direction side as we have become the workplace of Yasukawa of the puppeteer. But you excuse me, why do not you should have while watching the escorbe? Because you will look once examined the house facing on this side of the town. Quote, Akechi is turned around towards the criminal. Was politely he said, since the detective unexpected go also to the translation deny. I walked toward the plate fence in accordance with the orders. The side of the house of the example of the town have become a sparse bamboo fence. If a little unreasonable, anywhere out even from looked as can be. You, an inch midame here. Akechi is suddenly I Tatsutome. Pointed at one of the corners of the ginkgo tree roots allowed the cemetery. There's a big hole in the shade of a tree trunk. Garbage had uzu dakaku seki in it. This is he seems to have become a temple of the garbage dump. But I sneaked to the past 2 or 3 days the night before. Or looking for oysters and in this garbage. I was watching and uncovered a new cemetery. 3,000 child's corpse went on like that. Not this. I wondered what has been hidden in the side. Akechi whatever it sounds. To carry away the Michiko from Hora Yamano of residence. Someone would know of you that there was garbled in health husband of evidence of use of the garbage vehicle. Garbage vehicles of Azumabashi I whereabouts is no longer nowhere. But because those who heard it from your dwarf, that garbage imp perhaps had suspected that it would be carried here, and immediately to Wei in the vicinity of this temple looking at Tei. Early just that morning, he was found that a single of garbage vehicles was passed under the temple gates to hide the corpse. As cemetery, Kujing place no one ever thought it good, but I thought, think to when I was looking for. But he was not dead and transferred another to somewhere. Then I thought also was garbled in health husband. Did you was he? No, not sink something heavy car to that crippled. It's not a he. We walked while talking in a low voice towards the bamboo fence. The Inishigaki is followed all the way to immediately place when you pass through bamboo fence. The ground was 1 step higher from there. Akechi is the stone wall I Pensheng. I walked into the dam of between eaves of the plate fence and storehouse. Another of the fence there is in a budding go between 56 is blocking the gyote. Akechi takes the thin wire from the pocket, but was doing rumble by inserting in place with a fence in front. And soon out of such sound of the pivot, a portion of the fence is open and guy. It had become a hidden door. Inside the hidden door it is, between the wall and the wall, had become a narrow passage of enough to pass by barely one person. We walked into the blindly. Saint had suddenly remembered the play of hide and seek of the children of the hour and minute. Rather than correct fear like that, it does something lovely feeling did. Care was taken. Akechi stood earlier, I'm ladder, a little go. I went up being careful so as not to the sound of the ladder have crisis. There is elongated Idajiki of Ken position to up the place, where he has become a line blind. The left and right both plate beams. Width was narrow as must the body to the side. Akechi, harem just hitting on the back of the closet, is said in whispers. Chef in the static. I for some time, was each other listening to the breathing of each other in the dark cramped location. Saint is to imagine the Yamano misses toward the side of the closet. The body was numb as disturbing. While pray and do I Carrere be whether home was after that. Side by side with that ugly dwarf. That I want to see how the distraught wife was also aching such feelings. For a while from the direction of the room it did not come hear nothing of noises. But eventually to the sound of accounts for Pishari and Shoji earrings. Imai and his Kanzuka is such that someone is a man of thick wrinkle hoarseness it was heard. Because, when we accept from now window, our strange guy is hanging around the table. Guys I blame sell. During this time also strange youngster is a story that crowded up into the house. Wayne. Crisis hey. Another of this house also a time of parting. But, I my knowing feet until the guys who never loophole. Since piercer there is a thin planking and sliding doors. Speech of the other side was heard as to take in hand. Please miss early. If there is such thing if found like. Because I'm really irreversible does not stick. It was really the voice of Yamano wife but it is badly curt tone to normal to different. It's the same thing I was on his own. But, do not be still worried. His own force would also know you. The pressure example deep voice. Such as whereas, I feel strange when I think that deformity children were. Voice that just are imposing more than being average. There is also a funny. Terribly was also felt. As for pulling up or, I'm careful so as not to forget your belongings. The voice is gradually close to hear. Along with the sound of stepping on the tatami, was the spirit that gently opened the sliding door. Akechi is when the signal holding the arm of Mont Saint in the dark was tripping so as not to the sound over the hand to the part of the plate beams gaping in a square hole open. It came pointing the thin light. Montdam suddenly weather face to face. Although they hash an attitude, there piled a luggage and number of the other side of the hole. Still did not appear the figure of the other party. Eventually the top of the luggage is finetting removing and so, the arm of one to the after is out with a ruyi. I went to pull to the second face and slurping and grab a string of luggage. The hands of Akechi, which is holding the arm of Mont Saint has moved jerks. Luggage was finetting. Shaved Devotio, from the other side is looking into the ba. 8 of the eye at a distance a couple of feet was Butsuka. Wax. Was the sound like that? But 4 people that shouted everything or at the same time. Osho was suddenly fled toward the back of the Yojohan. Akechi was Oisuka. Sprinkle kicked the luggage. There are things Hoshiba opened the window of Yojohan. Escape because there is a lookout downstairs is he not on the outside of the roof. When the deformity children out of the quick window. And the handrail of things Hoshiba to foot the next. Was Su Panshing on the second floor of the roof. Akechi was delayed Paris. Grabbed an opponent that is down bra from the roof. But, his feet remained to Akechi of hand missing to comfortably within that wall jostled. It was a puppet of the foot of something like that is covered with white socks. For good deformity children of climbing trees like a monkey. But he fled the location of the Kujing wet on the roof. He suddenly was fan the hem of the white coat of priestly attire, crept the roof of the gradient. Kobayashi-kun, to make call me a criminal from the bottom of the window. Akechi also Sujashang on the roof, leaving good. Over the long building. Evening in the sky the background of the dark. Ran tangled in a black china clothing of the white robe and the Akechi of deformity children. When the roof is exhausted. Deformity children move to a utility pole or fence to the scaffold to the next roof. The place of just Ken when there was even over and caught the wire with both hands. It acrobatics of dwarf. So Naruto Akechi is not a very enemy. Place a small quantity. To just cannot imitate the dwarf. He must omawari. 2 of the distance to see that look went away. Revealed the identity the deformity children. It was already desperate, and fled. But he does not run away Oseru expected. Cannot afford to think about such a thing. He at least the impatient trying to Todorotsuko to the puppeteer Yasukawa house. Before long, a large roof of the bathhouse of one house in a row the hands of deformity children was stand in the way. If you look at the back, pursuers are imperceptibly become 2 people. It still might increase the number of people within that linger. He jumped off the small roof of the bathhouse to take the plunge. It began to run smaller in Sutaives. But, with great difficulty when it reached the corner. One of the criminal that was previously around and heard the commotion is coming in flying Pyoi Pyoi from the roof of the other side appeared. When find his appearance, he began shouting suddenly in a loud voice. A desperate situation. Dwarf is squeezing the last of force. climbed to the large roof of the bathhouse to Sutai gutter, but, relieved at the top of its remarkably high ridge soon, pursuers who had tore its sui to both ends of the same roof. There was no place longer to escape. Jumping from it or break spot at the head. You receive either quietly Shen, pursuers us while the attitude. The tile one by one, came IJG. The hot flashes up eyes of deformity children. It seemed like the three little large lizard. Himima Washia looked around and the four-way aimlessly. Then, it suddenly was attached to the eye. Was the chimney of the bathhouse. Thick iron tube which was painted black as from the immediate side of the tile. Grew in the sky Zama. He suddenly, and attaches to the chimney. Went up with a Suru and good at climbing trees. Pursuers did not do foolish to climb the chimney in the same way. We're gathered under the threw a piece of tile in the monkey on the tree, and I patiently wait for the tiring of the opponent estimates. But the deformity children, there is another idea. Like the mast of a ship in the chimney. Thick wire from the top is out in a three-way. Past a one narrow open space that had reached the roof of the squalid tenement of the other side. He slipped the wire as the cable car. He have estimates over the other side. If you go if successful it, there's a complex maze like a town. Because that of the evening dark. Also Oseru the relief well. Was not altogether bad impossible. Desperate of acrobatics began. Monster of the white coat was floating in the sky. When you release the foot holds the wire. It slipped between the slick and 56 while I think Hatton. Wire is growling in Payun. Chimney was bent in like a bow. Wire is cooey in the palm of your hand. I rubbed the bone like a rasp. Deformity children within, not slip even half, became unbearable in pain. There was no power to hold the other wire. And suddenly you look down. Imperceptibly 56 people were clamoring stand and looked up at the sky to the bottom of the open space. We do not expect the other fugitives in the place marked with slip until though beyond. Finger is extended to think that no good. A moment. The world in front of the eyes of deformity children were traveling around and like a top. Crashed dwarf is. Was I fainted? People who were in the open spaces as closer prominence around it allowed. Misunderstanding. Mont in accordance with orders of Akechi Kobayashi. Open a window towards the table. Yelled in a loud voice. Then, went for go there to put out mosquito criminal who was the lookout. A moment. Stood blankly erect. Are those that went up to the roof chasing the traces of Akechi. He was wondering whether that was cared of Yamano wife stopped here. Mrs. will not be hamstrung as dead. Utsubushi to his feet. Well shook the finely shoulder if you look at Cayman crying. Collar milk collar of the neck is exposed to more of the back is disturbed. Over its numerous straggling hair of IJ-way. Commotion on the roof also gradually move away. Without showing that the one figure was how old woman downstairs. In the strange silence came. The world was a feeling that has been disconnected. Wife. Lamont Saint have called in a low voice over a hand on his wife's shoulder. Suddenly his wife began to cry up occurred. This is me. Was killed Machiko's me. Please say so to the policeman. Kobayashi-san. Please take me to the place of the policeman. Pale faces wet with tears. Chun it was convulsions ugly. Yi. Before that. Please take me to the house. I do not must go back to the house. Saw. Early. Kobayashi-san. She was screaming in the manner cling to the arm of the Mont Saint. Bloodshot eyes for fear of coming of the people. Was Mimawashi the per Kyoto. Mont Saint was also pale for excitement. Strange horror was crawling back. Even licking also licking Chun was caught. Let's run away his wife. His voice was shaking hoarse. Early, take me to the house. And I together with me, let's run away. Yuri did not even force that rises for the passion. For sugary to Mont Saint's shoulder. It was Kuzuore. He is in the manner embrace a narrow chest of his wife. He was finally able to get down the stairs. Distant ears in the place where I got off old woman was standing with Pokin. She feels that it has happened as something uproar had just come out barely up there. Lamont Saint ran to the entrance aside per the old woman. Went out of the gate with K caught off the clogs that area was he there. Look out of the criminal as no one went toward the dwarf. The town began another dar. Toward less of human communication. Ran tangled stagger. There was fortunately nobody saw blame the person. Also Train Street come to save. They had some time out just to meet a river embankment. Escape route was not on the outside. Mrs. became often fallen phase and shortness of breath. The hand of his wife, which was leaning to Mont Saint's shoulder, accounted for Kayuku and his neck. Cold disturbed hair was Nabu, his ear. Eventually we arrived until the bending road to Yamano house. I do not is not you go to there. No, I just caught I went to the house Saha, I run more. No, I must once go back to the house. Apart. Mrs. Squeeze pretend her weak force. Tried the curved path towards the mansion. Firmly embracing Mont Saint. It did not the total is. It is a good dat not worry. I also go with you wherever. Saw, does not it as when you are guzu. Let's run away. Let's run away until it can escape. Mont Saint while dragging the wife, said in a wazoo voice. But she for some time had been struggling in the arms of Mont Saint. The month is eventually force. Mont Saint the body of Mrs. suddenly moist and soft. Felt became heavier. She body and mind exhausted. It was use also energy to anti-carries. Lamont Saint most in the manner lift in one's arms to his wife. Ran to the north bank to the north. Become sparse houses as they go. Evening dark came approaching more heavily. Will ran several town. If you look suddenly, there was a deep forest of lush and total darkness and hid on the right-hand side of the bank. Mont Saint of the foot was no longer listened to say any more because of the heavy taste of the two persons. Shortness of breath and chest was a burst phase. Just heavy of forest is found in that time vacation location. He walked into the as falls down. Almost the wife of the body fainted lay on the grass in the shade of a big tree. And turned back to the bank. He tay while reasonable as far as the river. Drink hanging out the dirty water. Then when the throat just a little becomes easy, walked into the woods with it now is moistened with water in the handkerchief. Yuri had been supine in there with the attitude of the remains of the original. Only the face floats and clearly. Taste was distraught Edogawa details. Merges into the dimness. Was exude such a beauty of a dream. Mont Saint has looked blurred the wet handkerchief in one hand and its beautiful appearance. Only if you love until yesterday. And this person had been even embrace a kind of fear. Now, and I think he has a kaluo. Such as a tragic, sweet such. Sore chest with the feeling that cannot be nameless became. He is there with an ease. And lift in one's arms the neck of Yuri. To her chun, instead of the wet handkerchief. Went suddenly have their own chun. And, hour and minute he was still a small child. As was the cousin had been sleeping next to, was to steal her kiss. Era, would I do the? Before long, from the bottom of the kiss of rain, it went the chun of Yuri. Is he of the remainder of the passion that had awakened her sleep? Or she knew all. What are the guys deliberately now care of with the body? Mont Saint did not have as not suspected. So shark way of Yuri is unnatural. Even after the shark in it. That is not even try to Kobamo her arm in Mont Street seated neck was strange. When altogether bad I do not think just because of the gas. Mont Saint became hot as in the eye. How about, do you walk? He is a little more of patience once rely on the earlier of the handkerchief too. Mouth of Yuri, if we break this side to the right, there should be a depot of Yijo. Ride from there to the train let's go to somewhere far away. Quote, Ye, it is another useless. I is useless I ran away. I must I has had confessed already a thing. I what to say. So you are not you run away. Are you? If was I think not very escapos, he on the lookout for Junjo. Issued was cryptic speech of the play voice. I do not at all shiku something life. If you was gonna die with you. Life is of no not at all or she something. Would you please to die me together? Well, you say something to die why? I mean, do you not afraid the gallows? But of course I think that is better only fled to escape at me. But when that is no longer escape finally is not that no outside die. It's so. Yuri remained such a sitting in the dark. It was silent for a long time. Montaigne also did not say what to tighten grip her one hand. You, even where it has us become my ally. Why you ask such a thing? Do not know. I have known, but I am also a chaste wife of the street Yamano up to now. Yeah, even if there is what? To swear. Well, but you say, was killed Machiko is not a me. I have his criminal to outside. It is who? Montaigne asked surprised. It's Yamano. Is Yamano of my husband? So, I'm home early as possible, you must miss that person. I mean, Yamano-san is not that the parent of the reals Machiko. Such a stupid thing I'm on is one. Yoshi also where was so. Nanti miss. I called trying to do with that large sick. And, by now in your residence is of no difference to have another police hand traveling around. Quote, oh, it is still useless. But if you have that crippled as me escape well possibly. You might need not bail his secret if so. Do as that guy is you hold the key of the secret. So, you guess I was in accordance with the instruction of such a fellow. To just want to hide the sins of your husband. The outside to me was never able to. Yuri it became tearful voice. From the time it was found that I'm in for the safety of family name and the husband of Yamano. Discard the life I was determined to not have to be exhausted also. It is the teaching of the mother that I was no longer is. Montaigne was looking at the opponent's passion was blurred. Although you will not often know the relationship of husband and me. Yamano family's the most important benefactor is for my house. I also that I married my husband with different badly year. To sacrifice for my husband also decided to the was made. All I lost I took over the aspirations of parents. I did not have not to do so as my temper. Quote, but, even so, you may not know to me, Montaigne went barely retaken care. Would have thought you were Yakusu. But the strange letter that you received has entered into the hands of Mr. Agechi. A letter example of a crippled wrote to call your Ocho to the house. Certainly in it, fill the Machiko's dead body of your request. This is I do not know of burn only the name of the one person whose meaning was written that do not know only 3 people of whom the same and I. Who kia but it would be who is not your recipient of the letter. The outside is there a variety of evidence. For example, toga is your handbag toga shawl that Machiko on that day came out with is not that had been hidden in the closet of the room. Not only that, until Machiko plaster images envisioned that broke the head of the eye was in your room. As it is impossible for I doubted you will not. Quote, thank you for your viewing. If you like please subscribe to the channel. I am very encouraged.